All right. Hello, friends. My name is Mike Wolff, and I lead our Salesforce Global ISV Partner Team. And first and most importantly, as we're all leading through this time of change, I hope that you, your family, your friends, and your broader communities are doing well. Second, these are unprecedented times, and it's inspiring to see the incredible collaboration that's taking place to help one another. And along those lines, over the last few days, we've been receiving a number of questions around the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program. And to help out our community, we've reached out to our friends at nCino to help us demystify the program and to help each of you potentially utilize it to help your respective businesses. So I know we've received a lot of feedback around this. There's a ton of details that are still being worked out. There's many questions about this program. And here's what we do know. There's $350 billion available to small businesses. Applications will start to be accepted starting tomorrow, Friday, April 3rd. And while $350 billion sounds like a lot, these funds are going to go quickly. And the key questions we've heard are, how can we learn as much as we can to get prepared to submit these applications? So today we're extremely fortunate to have three amazing industry leaders available to help us answer many of these questions that we're hearing from our partners and customers around the SBA Paycheck Protection Program. We have Sean Desmond, Chief Customer Success Officer from nCino. We have Brad Turner, Chief Credit Officer from Coastal States Bank, and Steve Stone, President and CEO from Coastal States Bank. Now, before we dive into some of the questions around the Paycheck Protection Program, let's do some quick rounds of introductions. So, Sean, we'll kick it off with you. If you could please briefly share an overview of nCino, your role at the company, and how nCino has been approaching this situation over the last few weeks.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. Appreciate it. I'm responsible for all things customer success here at nCino, and it certainly has been an interesting time the past several weeks. First and foremost, as we account for our employees and our customers and their loved ones and make sure health and well-being is number one, we quickly pivoted to help people understand how they can maximize value from our platform today. And then we've kind of drilled in from there in terms of things you could use on the nCino platform configuration to most recently an offering that we're rolling out specific to the Paycheck Protection Program that includes a workflow, a client application, a client attestation, and all the way from application through booking. So that's how we're looking at mobilizing quickly. And again, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Brad, we'll head over to you.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Brad Turner, Chief Credit Officer with Coastal States Bank, which is predominantly located in South Carolina and Georgia. We do have a couple of businesses that make loans across the country, but predominantly there in the Southeast. I've been with the bank for a couple of years now as the Chief Credit Officer. And over the past couple of weeks, like many in this industry, we've been not only dealing with our own health and issues, making sure that our employees are safe and in good health, but we have got many impacted borrowers that we have already started working with over the last couple of weeks. And right now our focus is on how we can best help our clients under some of the new measures that have been passed.
Great. Well, Brad, thank you very much for joining us today. And Steve, bring us on home. Please introduce yourself, share some thoughts.
Yes, thanks, Mike. This is Steve Stone, President and CEO of Coastal States Bank. As Brad mentioned, CSB is a community bank predominantly located in the low country of South Carolina, Savannah, and Atlanta, Georgia. One of the lines of business that Brad mentioned that we operate on a national platform is our Government Guaranteed Lending Division, or SBA division. We are a partner with nCino. We use nCino as our platform to run that division. And as Brad mentioned, we have spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks responding to client needs, responding to community needs. That began first with looking to modify loan terms, providing interest-only payments, payment deferrals for businesses impacted by COVID-19. We've also been investing a lot in our communities, supporting organizations that are reaching out and helping those in need. And now with the CARES Act being signed into law last week, with the Paycheck Protection Program officially being launched tomorrow, but still with a lot of details left to discover, we're going to look to make that program available to customers in our markets and across the country as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. So, we were talking before, in terms of this situation and what you described this as, it's an extremely fluid situation with everything changing on an hour-by-hour basis. So we'd love a little bit of feedback from you just around the macro situation right now and how you're thinking of it.
Yeah, this is Steve. So, this is moving at a very fast pace. What was the bill, the CARES Act that was signed into law last week, is being translated into a program that can be implemented by banks today. As of yet, we still are waiting for guidance from the SBA on exactly how the Paycheck Protection Program is going to be administered under the 7A program. We did get guidance, summary guidance from the Treasury on Tuesday afternoon that helped to fill in some of the blanks, but there's still a lot left to discover. So our job now is to be as prepared as we can be to help accept the flood of applications that we expect are going to be there tomorrow.
Great. And then from a disclaimer perspective, right, we're going to address a number of different tactical questions about this program. Again, we're going to be sharing our respective points of view, but everyone should be consulting their own banks and financial advisors and attorneys as they think through what makes the most sense for them, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And starting big picture, can you explain to us how does the Paycheck Protection Program actually work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as it stands today, participating banks will be able to make small businesses a loan through the U.S. Small Business Administration to eligible businesses. They'll be for the purposes of supporting payroll, rent, or interest on mortgage debt, as well as some utilities. Currently, the amount of the loan is going to be based on 2.5 times a business's average monthly payroll cost from 2019 with a cap of $10 million. And that payroll cost is going to include things like expenses related to group health insurance, medical or sick leave, state and local taxes that were assessed as part of that payroll. So it's not just looking at salaries and wages of employees.
Okay. How about from an eligibility perspective, do we have an understanding of which types of small businesses can apply for these loans?
Yeah, generally businesses, including nonprofits and veterans organizations with fewer than 500 employees will be eligible. The bill did include a small carve out related to predominantly hospitality and restaurants that may be allowed to apply even if they have employees greater than 500.
Excellent. Now, we've been receiving a lot of questions from our partners and customers around where businesses can actually apply for one of these loans. Do you have any guidance on that front?
So currently, any bank that already originates loans under the Small Business Administration 7A program, they will have the ability to immediately start originating these loans. So I would say to small businesses out there, check with your current bank to determine if they already make 7A loans and if they'll be participating in this program. If their bank is not, then small businesses can certainly contact other banks that will be participating in this program to start an application.
Okay. Now, I imagine there's going to be and what we're hearing is there's going to be quite a bit of demand for these loans. So do we have a sense for how banks are going to prioritize the different applications?
That's something that we are evaluating now as we talked about from the outset. The information is changing daily. And our biggest concern really is making sure we're doing the right thing for our small business. This program has got some attractive features to it.
Yeah.
But depending on the needs of a particular business, it may not be the most attractive program out there.
Okay.
And Mike, this is Steve. What I would offer is that, as Brad just said, because of the interest rate that at least today has been advertised on these loans, which is 50 basis points, a 0.5% interest rate, banks I am confident will look first to their existing customers as they prioritize applications coming in.
And that's what we've heard on the nCino side. You know, having over 1,000 customers in the ecosystem, we probably heard from every single one of them inbound on how we can help streamline that process. The delicate balancing act here is there's also a finite amount of money available.
Yep.
And while there's a June 30th date on the window of, you know, in terms of when you can apply up until, that money probably will be gone well before that. So trying to understand that demand and scale from an application standpoint at the bank level and then across the ecosystem is something that we're kind of testing inside our house at nCino.
Gotcha. Thanks for that, Sean. Now, does it make sense for a small business to submit, you know, requests through multiple lenders, or should they primarily, you know, stick with the financial institutions that they have the strongest relationship with?
Generally, they should be applying with a single institution. Part of the certification is that small business owners will need to show that they are not actually applying at multiple banks for this program. They can get one loan under this program, and the intent would be that they work with a participating bank to get those funds approved under the eligibility criteria.
Gotcha. Thanks, Brad. Now, from a kind of an equitability perspective, are there certain lenders that have you know, a level of speed or priority over others, or is it you know, balanced across all institutions?
That's a great question. So this really is a very standardized loan program. So no matter who the bank is, the terms, the rate, the way this is handled will be calculated the same. Repayment will be the same.
Yep.
So for each bank, it's real. Number one, it's going to come down, are they going to participate in the program?
Yeah.
Two, it will depend on each organization's ability to mobilize their team from their lenders on the front end to credit to closing to get the speed to take the application, evaluate it, process it, and then fund it.
Okay.
So
great, Brad.
Hard to speak for every organization out there, but what we're focused on today is getting our procedures in order to prioritize applications and move them through as quickly as we can.
That's great. Some pretty standard questions about the loans that I'd love some feedback on. You know, what are the terms of these loans and how will the loans be forgiven?
Yep, great question. So currently, based on what we know today, approved loans are going to have a fixed rate of 0.5%.
Okay.
They will have a 2-year term, and the first 6 months payments will be deferred. In terms of how those loans will be forgiven, there is the ability to get up to 100% of that loan amount forgiven. Keep in mind, one of the primary goals of this program is to help small businesses retain the majority of their employees through this period of time, really over the next 8 weeks. So the amount of the loan forgiveness is really going to be dependent on the percentage of the business's employees that were in place prior to February 15th of this year being retained or immediately rehired, given the purpose of the majority of these funds should be used to support payroll. Okay,
that's great. A couple tactical questions, and then I'll pull back on the aperture and hit some higher level ones. So a couple tactical questions that we received are, for employees that we've had on payroll for less than a year, does the $100,000 cap apply to what we actually paid them or their annualized salary?
Our understanding is
that should be annualized.
Yep.
Annualized. Okay. Thanks for that, Steve. And then another tactical one is, what payroll expenses are eligible to include in the 2.5x monthly wage calculation? Is it benefits, contributions, 401k, work comp, other taxes?
Yeah, so that's gonna include salaries, wages, any payment for vacation, medical, family sick leave, If a company paid any severance, separation payments, that could be included. Healthcare benefits, including premiums, retirement benefits, as well as payments to state or local taxes that have been assessed on that payroll. Now, for businesses that have employees that reside outside the U.S., that payroll would be excluded.
Yeah, so that's a good question.
A couple of additional points on the exclusions, because I think those are just as important as some of the inclusions.
Yep.
As you mentioned in your last question, the excess of any salary greater than $100,000 on an annualized basis excluded. Federal income tax and payroll tax, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security excluded. As Brad mentioned, compensation from employees outside with residents outside the U.S. excluded.
Okay.
Qualified sick leave and family leave under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was just recently approved, also excluded.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for that. We mentioned at the beginning that this Paycheck Protection Program is just one facet that is available to SMBs. Are we aware of other programs that are available right now for SMBs, either that are for overall, or for women-owned groups or businesses, or for other underrepresented business owners?
Yeah, that's a great question. So within the CARES Act, there's really two primary programs for small businesses in general. The first is what we're talking about, the Paycheck Protection Program, which is designed primarily to support payroll and some other expenses over the next couple. For existing small businesses that already have a loan with the U.S. Small Business Administration,
yep.
Funds were actually appropriated to fully subsidize payments on those loans for 6 months. So beginning with payments that would be due after March 27th, banks are actually going to be working with the SBA on our existing 7A loans to provide them balance and payment information. And the SBA over the next 6 months are going to be effectively making those payments on behalf of the borrowers, and we will apply them to those. In addition to that, while I can't speak with a level of expertise, there are a number of programs that are offered through various banks as well as other lenders and agencies that are designed to support small businesses, particularly those that are minority owned or women owned, and it's going to depend on the community. There's a lot of factors that include the industry the business is operating in, the ownership, potential job growth, job retention. They're just a few of the many factors that determine the types of programs that may be available. So outside of a conventional loan, small businesses should generally, consult with their local community development centers, really to see what programs are available within those communities, because many of them are driven around the local economics and what those communities are trying to accomplish. They could be anything from grants to other types of low interest, more generous repayment terms.
Great. Really appreciate that, Brad. So 2 more quick questions and we'll wrap it up. And again, thank you so much for your time this morning. So the first question is a lot of questions from our small business community around any advice on making sure that they're submitting a flawless application to accelerate approval.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know that's going to be at the top of every business owner's mind. The originating bank is going to be required under this program to verify payroll information in order to determine the amount of loan a small business will qualify for. So to the extent a small business owner can have prepared a detailed payroll information that not only for 2019, because we've got to look at 2020 payroll and employees, but as well as current 2020 payroll information, that that's something we don't typically get as a bank and underwrite, but as part of this program, that's going to be a big focus of our determining eligibility and documenting the requirements under this program.
Great. And then one question for each of you, Sean, Brad, and Steve, and that's, as we wrap up here, if you could share one final piece of advice that you have for the small business community as we're all leading through these times.
I think everybody's looking to streamline the overall process here, and we are in this kind of push-pull from getting information from the Treasury and real-time putting that into our applications and our workflows. And I think that the simpler we can make the process end-to-end and not over-engineer out of the gate. Obviously, there are core stages that everybody wants to cover: application, underwriting, KYC. You've got disbursement and booking. You've got servicing and communications and collection and forbearance. And all those are relevant and pertinent. But I think the tendency out of the gate could be to over-engineer those, in some cases streamline getting the minimum amount of information you need, understand where you need full integration, and where you might in the short term just have a swivel chair experience to get through a finite period of time will help people get to market faster.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Brad?
Yeah, I would say to all the small businesses out there, Coastal States Bank's a small community bank. So in a lot of respects, we're in a similar boat. We are evaluating the bank situation. We are invested in a lot of great small businesses, not only in our core markets in the Southeast, but across the country. And with that, we're going to do everything within our power and ability to adapt and change to these rapidly evolving situation to hopefully not only help existing small businesses through this situation, but if there's an opportunity to expand our relationships, then we want to be able to do that. Our core business at the bank is commercial small business lending, but we're faced with some challenges right now that we are working through, and we're doing it in an effort to make sure that we're well positioned to continue helping small businesses that we serve.
Right on. Appreciate that, Brad. And Steve, any advice for the broader small business community?
This is a hard one because it's in short supply today, but patience.
Yeah.
We know that the SBA and Treasury are frantically working to come up with comprehensive guidelines for banks, but we don't have them yet. And this program is supposed to launch in 24 hours. And there has been created an expectation that borrowers will be able to walk into the bank tomorrow and submit an application and probably walk out with a funded loan.
Right.
We ask for your patience as we work with the SBA to get this program implemented, using companies like nCino to make it as streamlined as possible and to make it as efficient as possible. But we're being asked to do so on a time frame that is going to be difficult. So patience. I would just urge patience.
Very much appreciate that. And on behalf of the entire Salesforce community, I just want to end this call with a gigantic thank you, Sean, Brad, and Steve, for your time and your leadership. We are grateful for you sharing your perspectives and helping our broader community through these challenging times. I just want to end it with, be well, everyone, and we're all in this together. So thanks for everyone's time today, and we hope that you found this session extremely helpful.